Do you remember the days of jukebox music, leather jackets, and Fonzie hitting the diner wall with a cool "aye"? Happy Days looked like the perfect version of American happiness. Yet behind that nostalgic world, the cast experienced real-life struggles far darker than anything seen on screen. Some lost everything after fame faded, while others fought terrifying health battles in silence. Join us as we uncover what really happened to the cast after more than 5 decades. Erin Moran as Joni Cunningham. Joni Cunningham grew up inside Happy Days with playful energy, teenage sarcasm, and the sweet rebellious charm that made her feel like America's little sister throughout the series. Born on October 18, 1960 in Burbank, California, Erin Moran was only 14 years old when the show premiered in 1974. As Joni became older, her popularity exploded so much that she later received her own spin-off series, turning Moran into one of the most recognizable young television stars of the late 70s and early 80s. Erin Moran passed away on April 22, 2017, at the age of 56 after suffering severe complications from advanced throat cancer. She was found dead in her bedroom inside a small trailer home in New Salisbury, Indiana. Official reports later confirmed her death was caused entirely by cancer progression, disproving cruel rumors involving drug overdose. That tragic ending followed many years of emotional collapse, addiction struggles, and financial ruin after her acting career faded away. As Hollywood opportunities disappeared during adulthood, Moran struggled deeply with depression and substance abuse while trying to escape the shadow of her child star fame. By 2012, financial problems became so severe that she and her second husband, Steve Fleischman, lost their home and moved into a rundown trailer park while helping care for his ill mother. When she was later diagnosed with late-stage throat cancer, the lack of financial stability made aggressive treatment extremely difficult. In the end, she ultimately spent her final years battling poverty, illness, and loneliness far away from Hollywood's spotlight. Henry Winkler as Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli. Fonzie leaned against jukeboxes in Happy Days with that leather jacket, cool half-smile, and effortless swagger that made him feel like the toughest guy in Milwaukee, while secretly having the biggest heart on the show. Born on October 30, 1945, in New York City, Henry Winkler was 29 years old when the series began in 1974. What started as a supporting role slowly transformed into the soul of the entire sitcom, turning Fonzie into one of the most recognizable television characters in pop culture history. By 2026, Henry Winkler is 80 years old and continues living a peaceful but active life in Los Angeles with his wife of more than 48 years, Stacy Weitzman. Even at his age, he still participates in speaking events, independent film projects, and literacy campaigns while maintaining a remarkably scandal-free public image. That peaceful chapter came only after years of frustration following the end of Happy Days. For a long time, Hollywood refused to see him as anyone other than Fonzie, leaving Winkler trapped inside the role that made him famous. Instead of giving up, he slowly rebuilt his career behind the camera through producing and directing before eventually returning to major success with his Emmy-winning role in Barry. At the same time, he became deeply involved in helping children with dyslexia, the same learning disorder he quietly struggled with his entire life. So we now know, Winkler turned one difficult chapter into a lasting comeback built on resilience and reinvention. Al Molinaro as Al Del Vecchio. Al Del Vecchio shuffled through Happy Days with nervous smiles, clumsy charm, and that unforgettable "yep, yep, yep, yep" catchphrase that made the diner owner feel instantly lovable to audiences. Born on June 24, 1919 in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Al Molinaro was 57 years old when he joined the series in 1976. His warm comedic timing quickly turned Al Del Vecchio into one of the most comforting and recognizable supporting characters on the show. Al Molinaro passed away on October 29, 2015, at the age of 96 in a hospital in Glendale, California, after suffering organ failure caused by complications following gallstone surgery. Before his death, he had already spent years quietly living away from Hollywood and left his estate peacefully to his wife Betty Farrell and his son Michael without any public disputes. That quiet ending came after a life that mixed television success with deeply personal loneliness behind the scenes. Following Happy Days and appearances in projects like The New Odd Couple and Weezer's famous Buddy Holly music video, Molinaro eventually stepped away from entertainment almost completely and focused on private life and business ventures, including helping operate the Big Al's restaurant chain. But behind the cheerful restaurant owner image audiences loved, he carried emotional scars from two painful failed marriages that left him struggling with isolation and stress for many years before finally finding peace later in life. By his final decade, Molinaro had withdrawn almost entirely from interviews and public appearances, choosing privacy and family over fame until the very end. Marion Ross as Marion Cunningham. Marion Cunningham welcomed everyone into Happy Days with warm smiles, endless patience, and the comforting energy of a mother who could calm almost any disaster inside the Cunningham household. Born on October 25, 1928 in Watertown, Minnesota, Marion Ross was 46 years old when the series premiered in 1974. Her gentle performance as America's favorite television mom made Marion Cunningham one of the most beloved maternal figures in sitcom history. By 2026, Marion Ross is 97 years old and living quietly at her Los Angeles property known as Happy Days Farm, surrounded by close family members, including her son Jim Meskimen and daughter Ellen Plummer. After officially retiring from acting in 2018, following the release of her memoir, My Days Happy and Otherwise, she chose to completely step away from media appearances and public Hollywood life. That quiet retirement followed decades of steady success after Happy Days ended. Ross continued earning praise through projects like Brooklyn Bridge and The Evening Star, proving she was far more than simply a sitcom mother figure. In recent years, severe joint problems and declining mobility have made daily life much harder, eventually leaving her dependent on a wheelchair. Still, despite her fragile physical condition, Ross has remained mentally sharp and now spends her time focused almost entirely on family, peace, and enjoying life away from Hollywood's spotlight. Tom Bosley as Howard Cunningham. Howard Cunningham brought calm wisdom to Happy Days with gentle advice, patient humor, and the steady presence of a father who always tried to keep his family together, no matter how chaotic life became. Born on October 1, 1927, in Chicago, Illinois, Tom Bosley was 46 years old when the series began in 1974. His warm performance helped turn Howard Cunningham into one of the most respected and beloved television fathers of all time. Tom Bosley passed away on October 19, 2010, at the age of 83 at a hospital in Palm Springs, California, after battling lung cancer complicated by a severe staph infection in his bloodstream. Before his death, he peacefully arranged for his estate to go entirely to his wife Patricia Carr and daughter Amy, avoiding any public family disputes or legal drama. That difficult final chapter came after decades of success across television, film, and Broadway. Long before Happy Days, Bosley had already established himself as a major theater actor by winning a Tony Award for Fiorello. And after the sitcom ended, he successfully reinvented himself again through popular series like Murder, She Wrote, and The Father Dowling Mysteries. But behind the stable fatherly image audiences loved, Bosley carried deep emotional pain after losing his first wife, leaving him to raise his daughter alone for a period of his life. Even after finding happiness again with Patricia Carr in California, his health eventually collapsed under the rapid spread of lung cancer, bringing a quiet and heartbreaking end to one of television's most comforting father figures. Anson Williams as Potsy Weber. Potsy Weber stumbled through Happy Days with awkward confidence, loyal friendship, and the lovable cluelessness that made him feel like the sweetest goofball in Richie Cunningham's circle. Born on September 25, 1949 in Los Angeles, California, Anson Williams was 25 years old when the series premiered in 1974. His natural chemistry with the cast and easy comedic timing helped turn Potsy into one of the sitcom's most endearing characters. By 2026, Anson Williams is 76 years old and living an energetic but eventful life in Ojai, California. After reinventing himself as a successful television director on major series like Beverly Hills, 90210 and Star Trek Deep Space Nine, he now focuses much of his time on business projects, writing, and occasional nostalgic television appearances. He also remarried in 2023 to Sharon Meharry after going through a difficult divorce from his longtime wife, Jackie Gherkin. That personal reinvention came after several emotionally exhausting years. Following the collapse of his decades-long marriage in 2019, Williams became caught in stressful financial negotiations and major life changes that pushed him into a difficult transitional period. Around the same time, he was also recovering from a private battle with colorectal cancer after undergoing surgery in 2016 to remove a large tumor. Rather than slowing down completely, Williams responded by throwing himself into new ambitions, including a surprise mayoral campaign in Ojai during 2022 and expanding the driving alert product company he created himself. The actor, once known as Happy Days' most innocent dreamer, eventually built an entirely different second life far beyond sitcom fame. Ron Howard as Richie Cunningham. Richie Cunningham stood at the center of Happy Days with boyish sincerity, nervous optimism, and the moral heart that kept the entire Cunningham family grounded through every season. Born on March 1, 1954, in Duncan, Oklahoma, Ron Howard was only 20 years old when the sitcom premiered in 1974. As Richie evolved into one of television's most recognizable all-American teenagers, Howard quietly prepared for a career transformation that would completely change his life. By 2026, Ron Howard is 72 years old and remains one of the most respected and powerful filmmakers in Hollywood. Living in Connecticut with his wife since 1975, Cheryl Howard, he continues balancing major directing projects, documentary productions, and leadership duties at Imagine Entertainment, while also supporting the career of his daughter Bryce Dallas Howard. With an estimated fortune of around $200 million, Howard's life has become one of the rare success stories in Hollywood almost entirely free from scandal or public collapse. That stability came from one bold decision that shocked many people at the height of Happy Days' popularity. In 1980, Howard chose to walk away from acting fame and pursue directing full-time, risking the security of being one of television's biggest young stars. The gamble eventually transformed him into the Oscar-winning director behind A Beautiful Mind, Apollo 13, and many other acclaimed films. While many child and television actors struggled after fame faded, Ron Howard quietly built one of the most successful second careers in entertainment history through discipline, consistency, and a remarkably private family life. Don Most as Ralph Malph. Ralph Malph filled Happy Days with nonstop jokes, goofy confidence, and the kind of loudmouth humor that always made it feel like he was trying to turn every awkward moment into a punchline. Born on August 8, 1953, in Brooklyn, New York, Don Most was only 21 years old when the show premiered in 1974. Together with Richie and Potsy, Ralph became part of one of television's most beloved friendship groups of the 1970s and 80s. By 2026, Don Most is 72 years old and living a peaceful, stable life in Los Angeles with his wife Morgan Hart, whom he married in 1982. While he still occasionally appears in television and theater projects, much of his energy now goes into performing jazz and swing music through his live stage show, Donnie Most Sings, which continues touring smaller venues in Las Vegas and New York. That creative second career slowly developed after the sitcom years ended and Hollywood opportunities became less frequent. Rather than desperately chasing another major television role, Most gradually reinvented himself through voice acting, guest appearances on modern shows like Glee, and eventually live music performance, where his strong singing voice found a completely new audience. Unlike many former sitcom stars, he avoided major scandals, financial collapse, and public breakdowns, choosing instead to build a quieter and more balanced life centered around music, longtime friendships, and family stability. Even decades after Happy Days ended, his close bond with former co-star Anson Williams has remained an important part of his personal life. Linda Goodfriend as Lori Beth Cunningham. Lori Beth Cunningham brought a soft sweetness to Happy Days with her shy smile, gentle loyalty, and the comforting innocence that made Richie Cunningham's relationship feel sincere and genuine. Born on October 31, 1950 in Miami, Florida, Linda Goodfriend was 27 years old when she joined the series in 1977. As Lori Beth slowly evolved from Richie's quiet girlfriend into his wife, she became closely tied to the show's image of love, family, and emotional stability. Linda Goodfriend passed away on March 7, 2024, at the age of 73, after a long private battle with cancer. After years of treatment and declining health, she died peacefully surrounded by her husband, director David L. Roper, and their family, leaving behind an estate valued at around $1 million without any public legal disputes. That peaceful goodbye came after several difficult years spent quietly enduring the physical and emotional toll of serious illness away from public attention. Rather than discussing her condition openly, Goodfriend chose to retreat into private family life while continuing her work in arts education as the longtime head of acting at the New York Film Academy. Even as chemotherapy treatments gradually weakened her body, she remained deeply respected by former students and colleagues for her warmth, professionalism, and dedication to mentoring young performers. The actress who once represented one of television's happiest marriages ultimately spent her final years fighting a painful battle with remarkable dignity and silence. Scott Baio as Chachi Arcola. Chachi. Arcola swaggered into Happy Days with cocky charm, flirtatious confidence, and the rebellious grin that instantly turned him into one of television's biggest teenage heartthrobs of the late 70s. Born on September 22, 1960, in Brooklyn, New York, Scott Baio was only 17 years old when he joined the series in 1977. His popularity exploded so quickly that Chachi eventually became one of the defining young characters of the show and helped launch Baio into major sitcom stardom. By 2026, Scott Baio is 65 years old and living a far more private life in Florida with his wife, Renee Sloan, and their daughter, Bailey. After selling his Los Angeles properties and stepping away almost entirely from Hollywood productions, he now spends most of his time producing independent political podcasts from home while focusing heavily on family life and his wife's ongoing health struggles. That retreat from Hollywood followed years of controversy, media backlash, and emotional exhaustion. As Baio became increasingly outspoken about his conservative political views, tensions between him and much of the entertainment industry grew dramatically, leading to intense criticism and public disputes online and in the press. At the same time, accusations involving alleged misconduct from former colleagues created another wave of damaging headlines that he strongly denied. And his private life was also being tested by the emotional strain of helping care for his wife after her diagnosis with a dangerous meningioma brain tumor. Now, he finds himself pulling away from fame and into a far quieter life centered around controversy, family pressure, and personal survival. Ted McGinley as Roger Phillips. Roger Phillips is a young teacher with smooth confidence, easy charm, and the relaxed coolness, who instantly fit into the show's later seasons. Born on May 30, 1958 in Newport Beach, California, Ted McGinley was only 22 years old when he joined the series in 1980. Although he arrived during the show's final era, His charismatic screen presence helped him become one of television's most recognizable sitcom actors throughout the following decades. By 2026, Ted McGinley is 67 years old and living a stable, scandal-free life in Los Angeles with his wife since 1991, Gigi Rice, and their 2 sons. Thanks to a healthy lifestyle shaped by his younger years as a competitive water polo athlete, he has remained physically active and continues working steadily in television, most recently finding renewed success through the hit Apple TV Plus comedy Shrinking alongside Harrison Ford and Jason Segel. That long-lasting career stability came from McGinley's ability to constantly reinvent himself instead of staying trapped inside one famous role. After Happy Days, he became a familiar face across multiple major sitcoms and dramas, including Dynasty, The Love Boat, and Married, with Children, quietly building one of television's most durable careers without relying on scandal or controversy to stay relevant. While many actors from classic sitcoms struggled after fame faded, McGinley gradually built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most dependable television performers. Even in his late 60s, he continues balancing acting, producing, and family life with the same calm consistency that has defined most of his career. Kathy Silvers as Jenny Piccolo. Jenny Piccolo burst through Happy Days with loud opinions, playful energy, and the fearless attitude of someone who always seemed ready to embarrass Joni with another outrageous comment. Born on May 27, 1961, in New York City, Kathy Silvers was only 19 years old when she joined the series in 1980. Her lively personality quickly made Jenny one of the standout younger characters during the show's later seasons. By 2026, Kathy Silvers is 64 years old and living a quiet life in rural California focused almost entirely on health education, organic food businesses, and vegan nutrition programs. After leaving acting behind years ago, she redirected her life toward wellness entrepreneurship, publishing lifestyle books and running projects connected to healthy living while staying completely away from Hollywood fame. That dramatic career shift came after realizing the entertainment industry no longer matched the kind of life she wanted for herself. Following smaller acting and voiceover roles after Happy Days, Silvers chose to walk away from show business and focus on raising her 5 children. Though doing so also brought years of financial pressure and emotional stress connected to divorce and single motherhood. Her physical health was tested again after a serious hiking accident in 2020, left her with a badly broken leg that required years of rehabilitation and therapy. Rather than returning to acting, Silvers slowly rebuilt her life around family, wellness, and personal peace, embracing a far quieter existence than the television world she left behind decades earlier. Pat Morita as Arnold. Matsuo Arnold Takahashi. Arnold welcomed customers into Happy Days with his calm humor, wise expressions, and the comforting presence that made Arnold's drive-in feel like the heart of the entire neighborhood. Born on June 28, 1932, in Ileton, California, Pat Morita was 43 years old when he began appearing on the series in 1975. His lovable performance as Arnold helped open the door to one of the most groundbreaking careers ever achieved by an Asian American actor in Hollywood. Pat Morita passed away on November 24, 2005, at the age of 73 inside his Las Vegas home after suffering acute kidney failure linked to long-term liver disease caused by chronic alcoholism. His death was followed by painful legal disputes and family tensions involving inheritance rights and control of his image royalties between his final wife Evelyn Guerrero and daughters from earlier marriages. That tragic ending came after years of severe physical decline and emotional struggle hidden behind his public success. Following his Oscar-nominated breakthrough as Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid, Morita became an important symbol for Asian representation in American film, but privately, he was battling a destructive alcohol addiction that steadily damaged both his health and personal relationships. As the addiction worsened, arguments inside the family became increasingly painful, while years of alcohol abuse slowly destroyed his internal organs. By the final stage of his life, Morita was living in near isolation in Las Vegas, physically exhausted and emotionally worn down long before his body finally gave out in 2005. Linda Pearl as Ashley Pfister. Ashley Pfister brought a softer, more mature warmth into Happy Days, with her gentle confidence, emotional honesty, and natural chemistry with Fonzie during the show's later years. Born on September 2, 1955 in Greenwich, Connecticut, Linda Pearl was 27 years old when she joined the series in 1982. Although her time on the show was relatively brief, Ashley quickly became one of the few women who truly connected with Fonzie on a deeper emotional level. By 2026, Linda Pearl is 70 years old and enjoying an active, joyful life in Los Angeles alongside her longtime partner Patrick Duffy. After decades of success across television, theater, and music, she continues performing live jazz concerts internationally while also touring in stage productions with Duffy. Away from entertainment, the couple now shares a quieter business life together through their traditional fermented food company. That happiness arrived only after many painful personal chapters earlier in life. Before finding stability with Patrick Duffy in 2020, Pearl endured 4 failed marriages that left deep emotional scars and years of personal disappointment behind the scenes. Rather than allowing those setbacks to define her later years, she slowly rebuilt her confidence through music, theater, and creative independence. Today, while many former television stars struggle with fading relevance, Linda Pearl has managed to create a second life built around love, artistic freedom, and emotional peace. So after more than 50 years, the cast of Happy Days changed in ways fans never could have imagined. Some found peace and lasting success, while others faced heartbreak, illness, and painful final chapters far away from Hollywood's spotlight. Which Happy Days star shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more unforgettable then and now stories.